Hey, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co, and today I'm reviewing Mindspace from Allplay. Mindspace is a 1 to 5 player roll and write polyomino game in which players are going to be drawing shapes onto their personal grid in an effort to score based on, well, how each color scores and all the other things give you points in an effort to get the most points by the end of the game. The basic idea is you're going to be taking these dice each round, you're going to be rolling them, and depending on the number you assign them to that card. So counting from the left over here, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, the 4 goes here, the 2 over here goes here, 2 goes here, 6 goes on to the end, and we have another 2. So we got a very specific section of what will be drawing this round. Then each player gets to separately choose what they want to draw, limited by the dice options. You could draw this shape in any of these colors, you could draw this shape in purple, or you could draw this 2x1 in 6 over here, an orange. You could draw an orange 2x1 shape over here. It is worth noting you can always draw a 2x1, so the 6 is kind of a limitation over there. If you needed orange, you could only do a 2x1, but any color could be replaced by a 2x1 of that color. Why are you drawing these onto your grid? Well, before we cover that, you draw it onto your grid over here. Previous colors need to touch, anytime you draw, you need to touch a previously drawn color. So as you start to draw, you're locking yourself in. You have to spread out from there. But ultimately, what is it you're doing? Why are you trying to fill in this grid? But before we do that, let's go ahead and grab a marker and draw that green shape in so you can see what I'm doing over here. When I have this green shape over here, I'm going to follow that green color, and I'm going to go ahead and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, that's going to be my my starting color over here. I'm not thinking through it too hard. In fact, I'm barely thinking through it at all. But there we go. There's my not so pretty but green shape drawn in. When all players have done that, you're going to take this card over here, slide it down. You're going to flip it over onto the discard pile, and then draw the next shape, sliding everything down until you've gone through the deck over there, having an opportunity to draw as many shapes as you possibly can onto your grid. Why? Well, that's where your score pad comes into place. Your score pad is going to tell you all the ways you're scoring points over here. You can go through this one at a time. But to start with, you get 10 points for every complete section you have. And by the way, I should note, these are double-sided, so you do have 2 different configurations on them to play around with. But you get 10 points for every complete section on the outside, and then 5 points for the middle. The middle's just a tad smaller, so a little bit less of a reward. You also get points for goals. There's a whole pile of goals. You can reveal an A, a B, and a C goal, and they each can give you something to do, and you get points. You get points in general if you do it, but you get more points if you're first, and less points if you are doing so after the other players. So for example, we have stressed out over here. If you get all 4 corners of the board, which this would be a terrible starting point for that, you get 13 points if you're the first person to do it, and yes, players who do it in the same round can tie. Therapy over here is fill in 15 or more spaces with blue, so going for blue could be helpful there. Again, not really working my way towards that goal. And we had adventure, fill in the top left and bottom right sections for 9 or 5 points if you get that goal. And again, these are variable. These are just examples of the 3 that are currently set up. After those goals, so you have the starting filling your grid, you have the goals, and then you have each color scoring in its own way. Purple scores for being next to orange. Orange scores for each time you do an orange, you're going to check off a box, get more points. Pink over here is going to score for matching shapes. So if I drew a pink shape and I get a matching shape of another color, you're going to get points for those. You get points for blue based on filling in, kind of like orange, just in reverse. You lose points for not filling in blue. As you fill in, you lose fewer and fewer points. Green we'll come back to in a second, but lastly over here we have this section where empty spaces in the brain section with the most empty spaces will lose you negative points. And then green doesn't really give you points, but every time you fill in with green, you get currency. You also get currency every time you fill in a complete brain section. And you can spend currency for a variety of little bonuses over here. 1 gets spent in order to go ahead and mark a black box off in any one space. 2 lets you choose any of the shapes instead of the color you wanted. If I really wanted this shape in purple, well, I can go ahead and do that. And then 3 lets you pick 2 dice on your turn, but they do have to be different dice. I could pick these 2 or these 2, but you can pick 2 dice on your turn for cashing in 3 money at once. Do that until the game is over, and that's basically how you play Mindspace. It's a roll and write, colorful polyomino game of filling in your grid as you go through it. Which means it's time for my review of what I like, don't like, all that stuff. Although this being a an all-play small box review, I usually just go ahead and just give general thoughts on this. I don't really format it quite as much. But overall, this is charming. This is a fun, simple polyomino game. Again, Allplay does a lot of these small box games, and I don't ever not enjoy them. Well, rarely. I think there's like one Allplay small box game I didn't enjoy. They're always fun, but the range is always how fun are they? Like, how good is this at being accessible, easy to learn? The rulebook is going to be the typical Allplay, open it up and there's your rules. That's it. That's a tiny amount of text to go ahead and learn. It's an easy game to teach. It's a very well game to play because because of the goals, the order that things come out. Overall, it's straightforward, it's charming, and if you like colorful polyomino games, this hits that box. It lets you draw onto your board, making it as pretty or not pretty as you want. Your board is going to be very colorful by the end, which is nice to see. These are deluxe chonky dice, and there are regular dice here, which are also colorful, but these are the deluxe chonkier dice over here. They're fun to go ahead and have on the board. It's just a straightforward roll dice, draw things down, and optimize your score based off of how well you combine them. So it's just a good game. Like, I've had this now for, I don't know, I feel like I've had it for nearly a year. I just happened to never review it until now, but it's easy to play. It plays in like 20 minutes and it's charming and straightforward. It does what a small box all play game is designed to do. It entertains at a low barrier to entry and is consistently fun to go back to. My only real nitpicks on the game, and it's a small nitpick but also actually annoying when I play, is I do find orange and blue are far too similar in scoring. There's a minor difference between them. First of all, one counts up, one counts down. That's just silly in my opinion. I don't think there's any meaningful difference to that. The meaningful difference is that orange is at least useful for purple, so that's your small incentive to picking orange because it helps out purple. And blue, you can cross off multiple at once because blue counts the sections, so each time you complete a section. So if I draw this blue shape, let's go ahead, if I take this blue shape here and I crossed two different grids over here as I go, then that goes ahead and takes off two different boxes because you mark off for each brain section that has blue. So sometimes you can even get 3 at once if you're really clever with your placement. I think I actually could have done that over there. But so that gives you a little bit of incentive to choose blue. But I wish they had been more interesting as far as mixing up some of the scoring combinations. There's only 5 colors. I think there could have been more stuff that was done there. But then again, they have the goals that give you points, so that is at least nice as far as that goes. Also, by the way, I didn't say this part, but they have the how to score on the back of your little grid over here, so that's very accessible as far as these go, and also saves them from putting in the rules, keeping your rules even shorter to absorb. Overall, this is fun. Final thoughts on this one. It's a 4 out of 5 because, again, like, I find all play games, I tend to be a little bit favorable on the scoring, primarily because it depends on their game. Their games are all different. I've liked a lot of their games. I've kept and still have a lot of their games. Some have passed on. I find that the accessibility of some of their games, of how easy they are to learn, to teach, the affordability, table to box size, all those things knock it out of the park. This is just a fun experience for the amount you're getting out of this box and for the ease of which you're able to play it. So a 4 out of 5. As far as other game recommendations, definitely check out Cartographers. I think if you're looking for something very similar, but with more to the experience, I think Cartographers definitely takes it to that next step. Came first and does a lot of things differently. I think there's room for both, but Cartographers is definitely a level up in complexity, but also in the satisfyingness of the experience. And then similarly from that, check out Welcome to Your Perfect Home. Kind of gives a similar vibe in the sense that you're given this smorgasbord of options and each player can choose differently how they want to handle that smorgasbord, which is something that I enjoy. That ability that we all kind of have the same choices, and how we branch and diverge is going to define how well we do. In any case, and until next time, I'm Alex Radical from Board Game Co. Hope you found this helpful, and as always, I hope you have a good one.